Both Belle and Miss Ryu were both stunned at what they were witnessing. A Zeno, wielding Belle's weapon, wielding Mjolnir, was fighting on par against the monstrous juggernaut. For Belle, he was at a loss for words, not sure what to think or what to say. On one hand, he felt he should be concerned, the fact that someone else was wielding his weapon, but in all honesty, he had the strength to just barely hold himself together. He was in no condition to fight, no condition to even try and lift the hammer itself. But it still left him wondering, how could someone else use Mjolnir, and to use it so effectively? Beta Ray Bill battled against the monster. It was definitely ferocious and not easy to counter, but still he had more than enough strength to match his own, wielding and waving around Stormbreaker like it was nothing, as if it were second nature to him. Both Ryu and Belle would clear away of the battlefield, knowing that they would only be a liability and a hindrance to the warrior as he fought against the Juggernaut. Beta Ray Bill would be able to use the incredible powers of Stormbreaker, as even among the Xenos, he was one of their finest warriors. Of course, he had never met Belle Cranel personally. He had only heard stories from Korg and Marie and the other Xenos who had met Belle previously. He had high regard for the boy, although in the end, he still had his misgivings when it came to the surface dwellers. After all, they hadn't really gotten along with the Xenos in a long time, despite having had a history of fighting together. All the same, when he got stuck with the assignment of trying to find them down in the dungeon below, he knew it was going to be more of a hassle than anything else. But to stumble upon this useful weapon, and for it to be effective even against the likes of the Juggernaut, well, then maybe it was worth his while to come here. He was finally able to strike down the beast, as he summoned as much power of Stormbreaker as he could wield, channeling it directly into the edge blade of the dual axe as he pushed it forward into the beast's skull, splitting it down in two and cutting its body straight through in half, destroying it and reducing it to nothing but ash, with only its magic stone remaining in testament for what once was. Even while exhausted, Beta Ray Bill would still have enough strength to stand, wiping the sweat off of his brow and admiring his handiwork. Well, that was one tough bastard. Sure put up a hell of a fight. So, I take it you're the Belle Cranel that everyone's been talking about. Yes, that's me. This is my friend, Miss Ryu. Who are... Name's Beta Ray Bill, part of the Xenos. Yes, thank you. How are you able to use that weapon? Ryu asked in an assertive tone. Of course, Belle wasn't trying to look for any sort of conflict or confrontation, although he too were curious. Well, if you really want to know, young man, I just so happened to come across it while I was deep diving looking for you two. It's really come in handy and it's got a lot of kick and power to it. Don't know who could have lost a weapon like this, and it's my weapon, Belle said. It's my weapon. Stormbreaker, well, technically Mjolnir. It's a bit complicated, but I was told you have the power of Thor. You're supposed to be wielding some sort of hammer, aren't you? This is clearly a battle axe. My hammer can transform into the battle axe. Here, I'll show you. Belle tried to lift Stormbreaker, and he couldn't. Huh? Wait, how is it? Come on. I just gotta... You having some trouble, kid? I mean, it's pretty big. Perhaps it's too much for you to lift. Or maybe you're just too exhausted. You both look like absolute hell. Belle, what's wrong? Ryu would ask. She'd never seen anything like this. Bell had always been able to lift the hammer, or any form that it took. But now all of a sudden, he couldn't lift it at all. What's wrong? What the hell's wrong? Bell would think. How is he not able to lift Stormbreaker? What could have possibly happened? Ryu could see the worry settling in on Bell's face. The stark realization that he was now stuck in the lowest parts of the dungeon, and even more so, he didn't have access to his famed power. The power that had gotten him so far. The power that had gotten him through so many challenges, trials, and tribulations. And now when he needed that power the most, it wasn't responding to him. It's okay, Bell. It'll be all... It's not... I can't protect you if I don't... Alright, kid, take it easy. Beta Ray Bill would lift up Stormbreaker with ease. We'll get this situation straightened out soon enough. But for now, it looks like I'm gonna be the one swinging around the big axe. I don't really know all my way around these parts of the dungeon. These are lower levels. Most of us Xenos don't even go here. I believe that we're on the 37th floor. The 37th? Beta Ray would say. He'd never even been down here. It was said that from here and beyond, it was nothing but hell on earth. In the meantime, with the mist of the destroyer slowly making its way to the surface, level by level, there was still the matter of Bell's Familia and the other adventurers. Of course, they were thankful for the help from Azari and his Familia, the Bast Familia. Welf had actually found a rare metal while they had been on the dungeon, known as adamantite. He was able to make a makeshift forge, and with some assistance from one of the Dora Milaje, he was working on trying to forge that metal into a weapon. Even getting a chance to use a mallet made from vibranium metal. Adamantite and vibranium? It was rare to see two metals of that type together in the same place, and to go hand in hand with trying to forge a new weapon. In the meantime, Lily would speak with Azari to get the full scope of the situation. The gods had an emergency meeting? Indeed. It's to do with this destroyer that's said to be making its way to the surface. And you guys didn't run into it? The dungeon is a rather complex place. From what I've been told, there are multiple passageways to get from floor to floor. Maybe not for each specific case, but we managed to steer clear of it while we were coming down here for a rescue. They're attempting to make way and to do evacuations. They're going to seal the barrier around the dungeon so that no one may enter and no one may leave. They're going to seal? Of course, Aisha was worried about this. Worst case scenario, the dungeon gets cleared out and it gets sealed off until further notice. And once you're stuck in here, you're stuck. Of course, there were alternate routes outside of just using the dungeon to escape once you've been in, but those places were far and few between, and the chances of them finding another exit route before getting destroyed, well, that was easier said than done. At the request of your goddess Hestia, we were assigned to help with the evacuation. Still, if your friend Bell has descended further into this labyrinth, then I believe it will be a lot easier said than done. We need to find Master Bell. We can't leave without him. He is your comrade. I understand your sympathies, but I need you to think very carefully about the situation you are in. Right now, you are trapped in the dungeon, with a destroyer running about in your midst. It would take a god's level of power to destroy it, and as you know, the gods are not permitted to enter into the dungeon. It is truly a worst-case scenario. a monster that can't be killed until it reaches the surface. And the gods, for the most part, have made the decision that they do not want it to reach the surface. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, Boris would say. Maybe our best option might be just to evacuate. We're not leaving Master Bell. And what are we going to do, huh, little bit? We have no power. We have no way of stopping the destroyer. Heck, our best chance of escape is to get out of here faster than that thing can reach the surface. Once this place is sealed off, then we'll allow those with higher power to deal with the monster. Of course, no one wanted to admit it, but it wasn't like Boris was wrong. Currently, if you weren't a level 4 adventurer or higher, then trying to engage with the destroyer would just be utter suicide. And even then, level 4, 5, or 6 might not even be enough. They were weighing their options, deciding the best decision to make. Welf would finish with the creation of his new sword, the sword created from adamantite, able to ignite a great flame. It was truly a one-of-a-kind weapon. I don't know about you guys, but I get tired of being left in the dust. Master Welf? Time and time again, we're always dependent on Bell. He's a friend, and of course you depend on your friends in times of need. He's always been there for us, each one of us, even in our lowest moments. Bell never gives up, and I'm not giving up on Bell. They can lock this dungeon down however way they want. I don't really care. I'm going to find my friend, and if we've got to fight that damn destroyer, we're gonna do it together. Even if it's just the two of us. It won't be just the two of you, Lily said with determination. If you two fight, I will fight with you. One by one, everyone began to show their own determination and their own valor. In one way or another, Bell had helped them. And now Bell was trapped who knows where. Who knows how injured he or Miss Ryu could be. But if they knew one thing about Bell, they knew that he wasn't the type of person to give up. He wasn't the type of person to just fall over. No, Bell would keep fighting. He'd keep fighting if he lost both his arms. He'd keep fighting if he lost both his legs. If he still had a mouth, he would scream. Even if he just had his eyes, he would blink them profusely until they could stare daggers. As long as his heart was still beating, then there was still fight left within him. He would not give up, and they weren't going to give up on him either. Of course, out of everyone in the group, Cassandra was still the most worried that this might have been a part of her premonition. What if this was the doomed calamity that she had experienced that would befall them all? It wasn't that she didn't want to have faith in her friends. Of course she did. But at the same time, faith only got you so far. There were some things in life you just couldn't fight. Some battles that you just couldn't win. And more often than not, she had the misfortune of seeing those outcomes, her premonitions. And yet, even still, in spite of everything they had gone through, even when Bell knew about what could have potentially happened, he never once mocked her. He didn't demean her. He even took her thoughts and feelings into consideration. That's why Bell went on ahead of them. Bell knew he could never change his ways, the hero that he was, but at the same time, he still took her thoughts and feelings into consideration. It only fueled her determination even more, because the only reason Bell went on ahead was out of concern for all of them. She owed it to try. to help her friends, to help Belle. Azari simply smiled. True loyalty to a friend in time of need. That is truly a quality of heroes, and those of whom I and my familia will be proud to fight beside. Our goddess sent us here to help, and that is what we are going to do. Whatever decision you make, we will follow it, and we will lend you our strength, every ounce and drop that we can muster. If you must fight this great evil, know that you fight with the blessing of the goddess Bast, and with the protection and the promise of the Black Panther standing at your side. With a newfound sense of vigor being restored into them, and with help coming from an unlikely source, a small Xenos leading a search party that had arrived, Lily was happy to finally have, hopefully, some good news. Lily would learn from the Xenos that they had sent someone ahead to look for Belle, someone by the name of Beta Ray Bill. If there was anyone that would have the best chance of finding him, he'd be the one to do it. Of course, they had no way of knowing how far below into the dungeons Belle and Miss Ryu had fallen. But they were going to help with everything they had, to help them find Belle and to help them escape, hopefully before the destroyer could reach the surface. In the meantime, how far had said destroyer gone? Since leaving the 26th floor, the destroyer had already reached as far as the 17th, fighting through horde after horde and wave after wave of monsters. It could be pretty exhausting. Not in the sense that they pose a challenge, no, but more so is that they made what was supposed to be a short journey much more complicated. All the same, the enchantress simply rolled her eyes as she sat on the shoulder of the destroyer itself. Her master would surely be pleased with her efforts to deal a crippling blow to Horario and to its forces. This main mission, her objective, it was to install fear. In the grand scheme of things, one measly destroyer shouldn't mean the end of all life as they know it. But look at how much effort they were putting in just for one destroyer. Oh, the gods were so pathetic. Ever since they came to Earth, a feeling of sloth and laziness, lethargicism had enveloped all of the gods. They lived their life day by day carefree, acting as if everything were nothing but sunshine and rainbows. The gods building their precious familias. Ugh. There was a time when they were warriors, when they were revered, when mankind worshipped them. What changed? Oh, she knew. They got soft. They got civilized. So much so that it got to a point where gods could walk down the street and you couldn't tell them apart from a mere human. Is that what they wanted? This was their way of coming together and understanding? It was weakness. Weakness is a disease that needs to be purified. It was time to wipe away all of the weak gods from Earth. Let them all scurry back into the heavens, never to be seen again. A shift was coming. A shift where the strong would dominate the weak. It was time to either be the conquerors or the ones that get conquered. For Enchantress, she agreed with these sentiments. Power, control, and dominance were the only thing that mattered to her familia and to her goddess, the true goddess, the true heir of Odin, the one who would wipe away the disease of the gods. The goddess of death was bringing an end to this weakness. And this would be the first step to that remedy. A purge of the gods. Wiping away those who treated all of this as if it were nothing more but a game. But there was nothing to fear. Soon the rightful goddess would take her place, and she would create a new city, a new paradise, all that was ruled by the goddess of death. Queen Hela, the eldest daughter of Odin, the true firstborn, the true heir to the great land that was once known as Asgard. She would restore Asgard to its proper glory, and she would wipe away the disease, the falseness that was heroes. And who better to start with than her dear baby brother, the god of thunder, Thor. This concludes Danmachi, The Last King. What If Bel Cranel Was Thor? Season 4, Part 7. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow evening as we'll be continuing with Danmachi, The Last King. What If Bel Cranel Was Thor? Season 4, Part 8. But that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.